Hi guys, today we have with us Atul Khola, lead designer at Cred. I'm sure every one of you have heard about him and about Cred obviously. So we'll have a chit chat about him, about the design landscape in India and what exactly today's young designers need to bring in to the industry for the same. So you being from such a diverse background, you worked from a large scale of companies also, and from startups to now at Cred as the lead designer at a position where you actually are the decision maker for a lot of things. So this is where a lot of things that come into play are here, where a lot of the aspirant designers studying in the colleges are making XYZ expectations from themselves in the design fraternity at the institutional level, and then they go to the work environments at XYZ companies, and hopefully the people at UID, at Cred, what exactly are the things they should take care about shifting from the institutional level to the work environment over here?
Right. Okay. I think I have a little like contradicting opinions around education system, how it works, and that's not just about college. I think it goes beyond the whole education flow that we go towards. I feel like as a kid, when you get into the education system, you don't really have a evolved conscience. You wake up, you are packed a bag, you put on your clothes, you are in a bus, you are in a school. By the time you understand what's happening, you've already been doing this for like around 2 to 3 years, and you realize this is a pattern you have to be into, right?
It's a very instructional medium you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think at one point where you're already in the system for a couple of years, at very later stage, you realize that if you zoom out of all of this thing, it is supposed to be a system that gives you, like the whole point of the system was to get you a job at the end of it.
Yes.
They are training you to be employable after 12 to 16 years after your school plus your college. The one single goal that this whole structure and format takes up is I'm going to get you employed.
Yes.
Now, I think the system is broke. I don't think the system is designed for, I don't think they have taken the right responsibilities for it, because every single person who is here in this college is so unique in their own way. And the job of this system was to make sure that they figure out what's your uniqueness and they build you into something that makes you an unstoppable force at that one thing that is supposed to be niche at. But how does the system work? You're put in a classroom with 11 subjects.
Yes.
You're made to train in those 11 subjects for 12 years. And at the end of 12 years, you are thrown one question: what do you want to be? More than 90% of the people still don't know. I think you had 12 years to figure something out and you fail at it miserably. And then you go into a college, which you think you get into a space where you think you might belong to. And then they go like, oh, you know what, now I'm going to get you this end goal, which is again a job. But again, like I was in a college that was around fashion design. It was not a space I had.
You're from NIFT Mumbai.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had around 11 subjects. I only eventually figured out my niche was that one graphic design space through which product eventually came in. But still for 4 years I had to learn that. I don't think that system was designed to figure out my niche either. So I think this whole system is based on time-based thing where you say that if you invest 1 year into something, you can move on to the next level. Which makes no sense, because like some people get done more in 2 years than some people take time for like 5-6 years. It is not something that is achievement based. It's more of
a rat race.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think rat race is even in the word. I feel like it's just always supposed to be like a task-based thing. Like, learn this. If you learn this, quickly move to the next thing. But right now, it's like no matter how fast you learn, you will have to spend 1 year into this. I feel like if these 16 years were divided in a way where I could have figured out my thing, and if they were focused on me and not a class of 40 people, their job was to find me in a way that, okay, where do I belong in this space? It was not supposed to be figured out, okay, I hated maths as a kid. My website starts with the whole line that I suck at maths. There was no reason for me to carry on till class 12th. I could have figured it out much sooner.
You should not. The STEM method of education.
Right.
I understand it's been proven for XYZ, but it's not proven for everything. It's
Right.
not fits everything. One size fits all does not come into play
Yeah.
over here.
And I think you created a system for me to get into and figure out my own thing, whereas your job was to figure that out for me. So you took my money and you gave me a framework that doesn't work for me, and you made me sit into it 16 years. It's so inefficient.
The fish just couldn't climb the tree.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest failure that it holds. And then once people are done with the system, and even if you know this is a space you belong, any company that you join usually puts you in a 6 months training.
Yes.
Imagine
They are training you finally. Finally, you're getting
what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
What 16 years couldn't do was done in 6 months for you to be employable at that one company.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it defines a lot in terms of how the system is completely broken.
Makes a lot more sense also. So for me as an educator, I would love to know how I can include, something which I can bring in for the students.
Right. I think we have been working in frameworks to fit it for everyone for far too long. I think we have this common fundamental of how education should be given, that I teach you atoms, you make molecules, you become this, I teach you this, and then you become this. Now, when you put me in a group of a lot of people, you are bound to stretch on every single topic equally because you have to fit it for everyone.
Yeah.
But instead, if we took the reverse approach, figure out what is this that you want me to create? Do you want to create it? A certain amount of filtering will happen right there.
Yeah.
Then you go like, okay, in order to create this, what else do I need to know? Now, let's say this has 6 parts. Some people will know 2 out of them already, some people won't.
Yes.
The people who know those teeth can move to the 3rd and 4th. And then you figure out exactly what do I need to create this. Like, I have always said this, so I'm a big supporter of motion design because I think that's what storytelling has met the best efficient in terms of putting the things together. That's the best way of narrating a story to you.
Yes.
Now, when you do about storytelling, you do about making stories. If I go through a normal tutorial, it will say, oh, this is After Effects. This is the whole toolbar. You do this, you do that. But what I really want to create is a bouncing ball. Like, it's very important to figure out the what, because that's where the originality lies in. I understand what I want to create and then I figure out all the ways to reach there. And that is the one way where I will keep everything that I learn in order to be like, okay, how do I morph shape? How do I make something squeeze? How do I make a keyframe move from here to here? When I learn that with my original idea, this information is going to stay with me forever. As compared to looking at a tutorial that says that ye toolbar hai, ye hai, isme 15, you have taken me so far away from what my goal was.
So basically, I wanted to learn how to make a bouncing ball, but I'm still in the toolbar. Rather, I would have been learning how to make the bouncing ball via a toolbar probably. The aim still remains there. How do you make a ball? How does that motion flow? How does the gravity in that effect work? The physics in that way works.
Right.
Okay.
And the more that you use, so once you've done this, you're like, I understand this. Next time your brain is not going to just think about the brain is going to be like, oh, this time I want to make the ball go zigzag. I already know 7 parts. I need to crack 3 more. Yeah. And when you're doing this, you'll realize so many other things. There's something called easy ease that exists. There's graphs. I can make this go at a certain pace. Like, motion is not, there's acceleration, there's deceleration. Like, your brain starts comprehending so many things around it just because you've got this one right. And those are the things that you'll always remember. Once you created this, when
it's a lot more intuitive. Yeah. And then you'll practicing it, na?
Right.
Practice makes a lot more sense over there. Yeah.
And things you learn this way always stay with you. As compared to, so I think this happened, like Saptarishi he's someone who's I used to look up to him when I was starting out. This guy made a tutorial of swiping a sneakers app.
Okay.
Now his goal was, when you look at this app, understand what I'm doing, learn the principles, fundamentals, and create something of your own. But the next thing that happened is there were 70 portfolios saying that I know motion design with the same sneaker scrolling. You forgot the whole idea that which I was trying to make you understand. You were supposed to understand the skills and use it to create your own original idea. Instead, you just replicate it.
You don't need an assembly line. Makes a lot more sense.
Instead, if you would have just learned that and then be like, oh, I want to create something where I can use these principles, you would have started from a whole different idea. Learning anything perfectly or reaching a goal has to be goal backwards rather than attach those atoms together and learn.
Yeah. A lot of times you don't need to understand why the atoms are working. It's just plain a ball bouncing.
Like, never have I ever looked at a bridge and be like, oh, Pythagoras theorem aa gaya. Like, kahan use kiya maine wo sab?
4 years of my engineering, I still don't know where the formulas are.
Exactly.
I was So I had a manufacturing unit of mine before I sold it off, and I'm like, now I'll just teach. I was shitty engineer, and I still know how woodworking way much better, because that was the first 3 years post my master's education. That was a lot more experiential than the 4 years of engineering. Never used any tool in engineering, and in the design course 2 years of design, I've used every design machine possible, because again, the way you mentioned, I just got into the workshop with the idea of I want to make this.
Right.
So can you tell me iske liye kya karna hai?
Right.
But now I can link what you're saying was
Right.
makes a lot more sense.
And I'm sure you made so much more complicated things later on, because you were
much
like,
more.
everything becomes like add, and now I know exactly how to make a
The
masterpiece.
goal never goes away, and the goal is anyways the push you need. That is the drive.
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I don't need the questions. I'm not kidding. This will go probably for another half an hour.
Right.
So just one last thing. The one thing I would want to talk about before we say goodbye to the podcast right now is, if now there's a standardization. There's this standardization coming to design also. In digital medium, it's becoming more, because aspect ratios are becoming a lot more incoming these days. So when we're talking about these standardizations, when students are working on them, a lot of things become very specific. This has to come here, that has to go there. Where does a student bring in their uniqueness to the bulk of data standardizing things for them?
I think rules and, let's say, patterns and laws, they would help a designer make the most average designs that exist out there. Which means everything that can exist has come together to say this is the most safest thing you can ever create.
Yes.
But the thing about safe things are, they are always invisible. No one really cares about them. As a designer, if your creation does not provocate someone to either love it or hate it, and it doesn't polarize, it has not done its job. Unless
I love the word that if it does not polarize, it has not done the job. I will use it, huh?
feel free.
Due credit shall be given to the student, to you in front of the students. Very, very, very impactful words those are. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think a job is to understand everything that exists. It's about learning all the rules, understanding why it's created. Like when someone says rule of affinity, that okay, this button has to be close to this and this. The whole point of that is to understand that how does user scan, like it understands this, and the action close to it understands how proximity works.
Yeah.
So you don't have to follow proximity, you have to understand the first, like the founding principles of how does a person absorb information. So over time, the first initial years is supposed to understand all the rules enough so that you can break them. So if you are stuck in following rules, you will create something that eventually people will just pass through. It just exists, it's invisible. I don't think design that a person aspires to create is any time invisible. I hate that quote. I think people want to create something. People want to always be noticed. They want to be memorable. No one aspires to be forgettable. So your creation can't be either.
Yeah.
It is meant to evoke. It is meant to be spoken about. Like if I get a chance, I don't want to put another cloud in the sky full of flowers. I want to create northern lights. I want people to sit, look at it, cherish it, talk about it, tell 10 other people to come look at it. Like that's when you have succeeded as a designer. And in order to create that, you have to understand everything that is to be understood, know the rules, but understand that the rules were created for a reason, understand the underlying reason, and then use it to your own self.
And then we need to exceed the boundaries created by others.
Right.
Yeah. We need to create our own unique spaces where we are above that.
I personally feel every single person in your class is someone who is just so different. Like all of us would have the same tag as designers, but we just think about things so differently. There is just no possibility. Like if I tell you a big brown castle and I've heard the same thing, we both might have a brown castle, but yours going to look visualized so different than mine.
Yeah.
That is something to be cherished and put out there.
Unique experiences which create their own castles.
Yes.
Obviously. Yeah.
And I think for that, you just need to know like, oh, a castle needs to balance itself, doesn't need to fall. Like you just get the laws and rules for that.
Yeah.
And then you have to break them.
Yeah.
Like, I was in Spain this New Year, and they have this cherished architect and designer called Gaudi.
Okay.
And that guy designed something so many years back that still stands out and amazes people to a certain extent, because he understood everything that is to be understood about architecture. How does heating system work? How does the flow of air works in a house? He understood everything. But then he took his own stab at it. Like something as simple as he had to create chimney, and they were like, okay, we need to create 12 chimneys. Now, if you look at it from a very utilitarian view, you'll be like, oh, chimney has to push out hot air through this, make this, it goes.
Then simple pipe.
Pipe.
Yeah.
This guy was like, I have created a fort of a place. This fort is going to have 4 guards protecting it from all sides. He changed the direction of 3 of them and made 3 combination ke 4 ports on all angles. And he's like, I don't want it to look like a chimney. So he made like a beautiful mosaic tile format on top of it, turned it into some beautiful structures like Goliaths. And from there, the smoke comes out. Like, imagine understanding every single thing about why a chimney needs to exist and how does flow of air in every nuance that exists, but using it to create something that you can call your own.
And you convert it into a beautiful art piece that is nowadays work.
It's beautiful, right?
Amazing.
And he said something about like the thing is it's only acceptable to call something beautiful when it has met its purpose. For him, purpose is implicit. What you can actually adore and kind of give someone a hats off about is what you do in terms of bringing that function beyond its core requirement and make something beautiful out of it.
Lovely, wise words said by the reader. I'm not kidding about this. Beautiful words. I mean, it is something to ponder on. Something I would also ponder on about. Because yes, utility exists. We are teaching utility on a very daily basis. But then what is the point of utility if you can't get that time to just, amaze at it? Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Atul, for coming over here, sharing your experience and knowledge with us. We would love to have you again over here if you will. And see you soon, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I think I had a great time, and thank you so much for your time.